talk to you about fear and how to take control of it to get what you want out of life. Okay? You're watching Cyprus Unfiltered, where each week I tell you real stories about real life here in Cyprus. Always done 100% live to give you guys a chance to ask me questions live on air. So, I say live on air. It's not really television, is it? Just live on YouTube. Kind of bigging it up a little bit there. But anyway, if you're watching and you're staying on till the end, feel free, ask me questions. So look, this does seem to be working, which is good. Stream settings, stream health, that's all good. If you're watching this, then you're here for one of two reasons. My charm, devilish good looks, amazing personality, or less likely, you're interested in maybe one day moving to Cyprus. Okay. Now, I'm going to assume for the purpose of this video, it's the latter, in which case we need to talk about your goal. Is it a goal or is it a dream? And do you even know the difference? See, if it's a dream, a lot of people have dreams. They think one day they want to live abroad. Yeah. Or they're like, one day if I win the lottery, then something will happen. Or, they're just dreaming, they're wishing. And you think, you know what? By outsourcing your life, you're hoping someone or something is going to get what you want. And somebody else is going to make that happen. But you're not. You've outsourced control. So what's the difference then between a dream and a goal? Well, look, let me give you an analogy. I like driving. For those of you that have seen me live a few times, you'll know that I like driving. I'm a bit of a petrol head. So I want you to imagine for me, let's say you're driving to London. You're setting off from home, maybe going on a family trip, and you set off early. Let's just say that you've got your coffee in hand. The sat nav is saying you're going to be there by lunchtime, and you're feeling good. The music's on, everything's going smooth, and then it happens. You start to see brake lights, and the traffic slows down and comes to a standstill, and the sat nav updates. And now it's just jumped by an hour and you're an hour late. And then it jumps again. Now you're 2 hours late. And you start to think, what's going on? Like, what's happening? Now the road's closed. And all of a sudden, you're forced off the motorway. And as you're getting forced off, everybody else is getting forced off with you. And now you're crawling through these side streets, places you've never even been before. And the sat nav keeps recalculating. And every turn feels like a guess. And at this point, you're annoyed, you're tired, and you're starting to question the plan. But you know what? You know what you don't do? You don't stop the car. You don't turn around. You don't say, London, it was a mistake. And you're not sitting on the hard shoulder, just questioning your self-worth. You're not saying, I'm a bad driver, are you? Right? You keep going because you know where you're trying to get to. You know where you're heading. And eventually, much later than planned, you'll still arrive. And your goals are exactly the same. At the start, everything feels exciting. If you want to move country, it all feels exciting. You're extremely motivated. But then life happens, right? Life happens, you get demotivated. And then you start doubting things. And fear shows up. When the route changes, how long is it going to take me to get to London? How long is it going to take me to get there? Is it even worth going now? Is it too late for me? It makes you doubt the trip, right? It makes you doubt the plan. But the thing is, the goal hasn't changed. Just the route you imagined has changed. The goal hasn't changed, but the journey did. Now, fear and doubt, it's not a stop sign. It doesn't stop you from progressing. It's just the part of the journey where most people turn back. And the only difference between the people that actually win and they get to where they're going, and the difference between them and the people that don't, is that one group keeps driving towards London. They might be late. It doesn't matter. They still get there because they didn't give up. Now, you might say, yeah, but Mark, moving country, it's a bit bigger than going on a road trip. The fear is different. And you're right. Yes, it is. And I appreciate that, look, not everybody is going to be able to move country because people have got different financial challenges. People have got different financial viability and different health challenges, So moving country isn't going to be the same for everybody. But for those that do move country, the mindset is exactly the same because fear shows up in different ways. And it sounds reasonable. When it does show up, it sounds reasonable. It starts saying, well, you know what, maybe now isn't the right time. You start sitting there and you go, maybe I just need to think a bit more. Give it a bit more thought. analysis paralysis. You ever had that? It also shows up and you're thinking, well, maybe just let me wait until things calm down a bit. Or, once I've got some more information, I'll get more clarity, then I can do it. Or maybe you're just saying, okay, I just need to do X and then, right? You're literally waiting for all the lights to be green. Before you drive to London, you're literally waiting for everything to be green. And that is never going to happen. But you're doing that potentially with these life changes that you're wanting to make and you're not taking them. So you're waiting for all the lights to be green before you've even started your journey. And the reality is fear is trying to keep you safe. Because why? Well, you stick with what you know. If fear kicks in and you're sticking with what you know, you might just rationalize it and go, well, maybe we can just go on more holidays. Maybe we can just have a 2-week trips a year instead of one. Maybe we can just save the money. Maybe we don't spend it, But the reality is everything has a cost. If you move abroad, yes, it costs money, right? But if you stay home and you don't move and you wanted to move, it still costs you, not in a financial sense, but it costs you in terms of what ifs and potential regret. Now, I would argue that the latter is a much higher cost than the money itself. Now, I want to tell you a quick story because when we decided to move to Cyprus, when we decided we were moving, there was lots of things to sort, right? So I told you a story just recently about how we moved to Cyprus. And so what I wanted to do at that point is just like when we came home, we just wanted to get on with it, okay? And that's exactly what we started doing. And so there were loads of things that needed to sort when we got back. And the first thing we sorted, and I said I'm going to do a mini series on this in the new year, but the first thing we sorted was the schools. We needed to make sure my son had a place in school. So we sorted that out. And then in the local school in Burbage, my son was in a great school. People used to want to move to the area because of the catchment of the school that we were in. And he was in a great school. And at that point, I then had to tell my son's school that we were deregistering him from next year. The house went on the market. We started then arranging for the lease car. I had a lease car through my business, started arranging for that to be returned. Started cutting off ties with the UK, right? Started literally ditching things, cutting things off, cancelling things. We'd booked one-way tickets. We'd booked one-way tickets to Cyprus. That was it. They were booked. It was in the calendar. We knew when we were going. And you know what happened? I started questioning everything because everything at that point becomes a holy crap, what are we doing? We're literally picking our entire life up and we're moving. And fear came in massively, right? Now, in July of 2023, I'd booked some other flights because what I had to do, and if you ever move to Cyprus and you rent somewhere, you'll figure this out, that a lot of landlords, at least up until recently, they wanted to take cash. And so at this point in time, the landlord, the house that we'd found, he wanted a cash payment and it was going to be several months up front and then it was going to be a deposit and everything else. So in July of 2023, I flew 2,000 miles to hand 8 grand in cash to a man I met on the internet, right? Do you think that I wasn't just that little bit fearful of what might come? Like, oh yeah, I'm thinking I'm the guy, I'm going to read about myself in the newspaper. I'm that idiot who's like everybody's screaming at the TV going, it's so freaking obvious. Why would you fly and why would you do that? Why would you give him money? But anyway, I flew 2,000 miles and I did. And I took the money and I handed him cash to rent the place. And the thing is, I picked the car up at the airport when I got there, picked the car up at the airport. And I remember I was driving to the villa. The sky was blue. There was no clouds. I was driving down the coastal road. And I got the windows open because I was not like the typical local. I didn't have the ACR or just wanted to feel the heat, And you could smell the sea. And I remember turning into our driveway of the villa, going up the hill, turning into the driveway. And I got out and I was looking around. And in that moment, I can't really describe it any other way other than to say it felt like home. And the fear had vanished, right? It was a strange feeling. So anyway, the fear had vanished. I met the landlord. I paid him. We then had a beer in his house and then he left. And I remember at the time doing a vlog about this exact thing, about fear, because there was some stuff that I was doing back at the time. And I thought, you know what, this is really appropriate for the thing I was doing at the time. And I was like, I'm going to record a vlog about fear. And I just remember how in the moment, the fear had totally gone. And it was being grounded. It was being back in the moment. And it made me remember what it actually felt like, right? And this is the thing, fear. I don't know if you've ever heard of it said like this, but fear is false evidence appearing real. You believe something necessarily that isn't necessarily true. And the crazy thing is that if you're leading up to this, so when we were leading up to this move, the people closest to you, they get fearful for you. So even though I had no fear at this point, they get fearful for you. And they don't mean to. They're just, they're putting doubt into your head because they start asking you questions. They start asking, Mark, what if you don't like it? What if it doesn't work out? And I'm sitting there going, they're the wrong questions. What if I do like it? What if this is the best decision I've ever made? Right? And this is the thing. You can just turn the question on its head. You start to use fear. If you're going to be fearful, then use fear, because the way I rationalized this was, what if I get to 50 years old and I start thinking, remember that time we could have moved to Cyprus and then we didn't? I didn't want to live with that, because if it doesn't work out, if it didn't work out, I could always move back home. Cyprus is my home now, but I could always move back to the UK. I could always move somewhere else. And the reality is, which am I going to regret more? Am I going to regret moving to Cyprus, trying something new, it not working out and I move home? Or am I going to regret thinking, remember that time we nearly moved to Cyprus and then didn't? Which are you going to regret more? And the reality is, even if it didn't work out, I'm going to go home. And like I'm experiencing now when we do go back to the UK, very little changes. But guess what? I'm going to have a load of stories to tell, right? So how did I overcome the fear? Well, I'll be honest with you. I didn't get rid of fear. I didn't wait for certainty, and I didn't wait to feel ready, because you don't ever suddenly feel ready. What I did was this. It was this trip. It was like back in 2022, I talked to you about having an extended stay. But the thing is, instead of overanalyzing and kind of getting into analysis paralysis, we paid attention to how it felt at the time. Not the euphoric highs, not the holiday feeling, just clarity, having had a glimpse of the life that we wanted. And then we traded on that. When doubt crept in, because let's be honest, it always does, we then didn't start renegotiating the decision every 5 minutes. We just traded on the feeling that we had back in 2022. And this is why I say you should go and try and do an extended stay. And this is the part that most people miss. They overanalyze. And then they take zero action because they start getting stuck in this analysis paralysis. And then they do nothing. Why? Because it's easier to do nothing than it is to actually face your fears. Now, I heard a quote recently. I think it was by Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was by Gary V. And he basically says, do it anyway. And I realized it's kind of how we live our life. When people say it's hard, yeah, it is hard. Do it anyway. Oh, I'm not sure how. Neither am I. Do it anyway. But I don't know how. Again, neither do I. Do it anyway, right? Do you think me doing lives right now, I'm talking to you live for the people that are watching, me doing lives right now, like the fear of it, tonight, I'll be totally honest, I'm looking at this now and there's several concurrent viewers. So you people are watching me live. So for the first few weeks, it was dead easy because nobody was watching. And now I'm doing this live and people are queuing up and they're waiting. Well, queuing up, I'm not that big, but you know what I mean? It's like people are waiting. It's like more than zero, or more than my wife anyway. So people were waiting tonight. And do you think the adrenaline doesn't get going? You're sitting there going, shit, I'm going live. And okay. And you don't want to mess up. I'm doing it live because I want to be totally raw. But the fear kicks in and you go, you know what? Do it anyway. Why? Well, because the thing is, progress comes before action. It doesn't. That's a lie. Progress cannot come before action. It comes from action. And so if I want to help people, I have to step out of my comfort zone and doing exactly what I'm doing right now. And the thing is, if you let fear win, then you're never going to step out of your comfort zone. Your dream is going to remain a dream and it's just going to be a dream. So stop wishing, stop hoping, do something about it. Actually take action, face into the fear. Now, look, I'm going to be staying on to answer some questions. I appreciate there are a few people on. Hopefully that's been helpful. Hopefully that has been useful tonight, just to kind of give you a bit of insight into me and just let you know, look, fear is part of the journey. we were doubting ourselves as well. So it's all part of the journey, but hopefully that's been helpful. Before I get onto the questions, though, I just want to give a quick shout out to Kelly and Lee because they are two followers from the UK. People have been watching me now for some time, and they recently visited Cyprus over the Christmas period, this week, in fact. And so we met up, and they've been paying attention because they paid attention to my what I missed from the UK video, and these legends brought me some Greg's sausage rolls. Thank you very much. And some sweet chili Walker Sensations crisps. Thank you very much. Also, one thing. This. You can see this here? Says, come back to the mic. To subscribe and like. They brought me a sign. They told me I've got to stick it on my board. So this is me. I've stuck it on the board. And I was going to do something else this week anyway, but I'm just going to do this and go pop, like and share. It's almost subliminal. If you found this useful, if you are getting any kind of benefit from this store, you think somebody else might benefit from hearing it, please just give it a like and give it a share because it would help me out a lot. And that's it. I thought I would just end it there. So thanks very much, guys. If you have any questions, then I'm going to just look over to the questions now. Oh, hang on a minute. I can feel it coming on again. Like and share. It's almost subliminal. Yeah, right. Pink slip journey on the 5th. Jan, follow your advice. So this is from Curious Fox 106. The pink slip journey on the 5th of Jan. Followed your advice. This isn't a holiday. I've rented a house in Pisori to properly live here while sorting residency. Thanks for the insight. Ah, amazing. Congratulations. Yeah, that's awesome. And so you're journey on the 5th of Jan. And then, so when do you move? Be interested to know, when is it you actually move to Cyprus? But yeah, congratulations. That's epic. What else have we got? We haven't got any other questions. Anybody want to ask me questions? I'll stick around for a little bit. If anybody's got questions, there's a few people on. And so if anybody's got any questions, I'll happily stick around and answer anything for you. It doesn't have to be about the stuff talked about tonight. It can be about anything to do with moving, anything in Cyprus. Here to help. But if not, I won't waste your time. I won't waste my time. But while I'm waiting for any questions to come through, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go like and share. Just in case the message didn't come through. I'd appreciate it. Apparently it helps me out. I think it does. If you share it and other people benefit from it, then YouTube seems to like me more, and then they send more people or send my video to more people. Anyway, not seeing any of the questions come through. So if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments afterwards if anything comes to mind after this video. Otherwise, I will be going live next week. I'm not going to be here, though. I'm not going to be in my office next week. I'm going to be somewhere else. I can't tell you where because it's a surprise for my wife because it's her 40th birthday. So I'm going to be taking her away. We leave in a couple of days' time. And I'm going to be doing it from the road next week. So hopefully it's all going to work out. Oh, we have a question come through. Oh, it's not a question, it's a comment. Oh, it's from Curious Fox 106 again. Cool. Oh, on the 5th, all docs are in order. Blood and x-ray sorted for Wednesday. Amazing. That's going to be an awesome start to the new year for you. So that'll be epic. Yeah, congratulations. Right. So I'm going to leave it there. There's no other questions coming through. If you've got questions, put them in the comments. I'll come back to them. Otherwise, have an awesome new year. If anybody's up to anything, New Year's Eve, as I said, not a lot happens here in Cyprus. So we are going away. Partly for my wife's 40th, partly because nothing happens in Cyprus on New Year's Eve, at least in Paphos. Right. I'm out of here. So I'll catch you all soon. Thanks for listening. And I'll catch you all next week. Cheers. Really need to sort this timing out. If I click go offline, sometimes it chops the end, sometimes it doesn't.